Well, it's clear we were sharing too many secrets. The spirits did not want us to continue, and the internet crashed on us. I guess that's fun, and I think it defaults to not allowing you guys to uh, to chat give comments, and I think I just went live before I enabled that again. But oh well, sorry about that. We will be trying to wrap it up expeditiously. But the fortunate thing is that the timeout, did allow me to get some more facts right. Of course, it was Carol Lombard who unfortunately, tragically passed away behind the Pioneer Saloon in the mountain range behind the Pioneer Saloon in Good Springs, Nevada. And it was Clark Gable who mourned his lost bride, the love of his life, there sitting at the bar. And of course, drinking out of the Safe House mugs, which if you guys live in the Midwest and haven't been to the Safe House, the originals in Milwaukee, the new ones in Chicago, they're both great. Um, the Ron Swanson reference I couldn't get is Lagavulin. That was his whiskey of choice. So getting back to and after all of this fighting with Spectrum, let's cheers to moving forward. Cheers to amazing Evan Williams, which is actually what this is. The good single barrel Evan Williams. So we were talking about the pathway into uh, Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, and the image on the in the beginning of the book, which shout out to Mary Goodflesh, aka Mary Doodles, as she's known now on YouTube. This is actually a photo. Not a photo. It's clearly not a photo. This is a watercolor painted by Mary Goodflesh of one of the things that is seen there on that pathway, and of course you see the decrepit, falling apart fences. And this is something that was witnessed by Bob Jensen, who is he's a paranormal investigator, but he's more of a debunker than anything. He's the one of the more skeptical people I know. Uh, Highly respected person and a huge aficionado on Gettysburg. Side note on that, but he actually encountered phantom dogs. He's not the only one. Other people have encountered these phantom dogs that will come up and check out people as they're walking down the path before vanishing. And Bob, it's been a long time since I've heard the story from you, but I remember you saying something about if you happen to see this one day, how like piercing or striking their eyes were, and I can't remember if they were an odd color or just intensity or what. But so this is something that's seen. I've never. I mean, there are other stories of phantom dogs around the world, but I've never encountered anything like that, and I don't know how I would react to such a thing. Do they get their psychic rabies shots or not? Likely not. Likely not. Especially down there in Bachelor's Grove, where all sorts of who knows what is being unleashed. And I don't think the satanic activity is nearly as high there as it used to be, or it's maybe foolhardy to constantly say satanic, but this dark kind of ritualistic behavior that was going on down there, whatever it was, it perhaps drew all sorts of negative things out. The Boy, just going back, before it was a cemetery, it was a farm field, like most of America. And before that, it was prairie. At one point in time, as one of these stories goes, and I don't know how validated, how true, how much we can really back this up. And I will take a quick sidebar to say that Ursula Bielski, B for Bielski, should get a hat tip because she had a book come out just last year that is the full history and a lot of history, well beyond just the ghost stories of Bachelor's Grove. And if anybody's interested, definitely look that up. And people do ask, Bachelor's Grove, is that because there's only men buried in the cemetery? No. There are legends about it, and it may be a misinterpretation of a family last name that led to eventually people calling it Bachelor's Grove. Maybe there are a lot of men that did first get buried here as they came to settle and build a new life for their family coming to the new world. So Ursula might know actually the answer to that one. I'm not exactly sure about that, but those are some of the theories that are out there. But back when it was a farm field, as the legend goes, there was a farmer tilling his field, plowing his field, and his horse, for whatever reason, bolted and ended up running or even perhaps stumbling and falling into the pond. And the weight of the heavy plow pulled the horse and the farmer to the bottom of that pond, both of them expiring there, which might lead to why people have seen this bizarre kind of amalgam of a creature around the area of the pond. People have frequently claimed that it seems like it's a two-headed man, or two-headed person, we'll say. Not exactly sure what exactly is going on there, but it's Dale Kaczmarek, or Kaczmarek. I always say his name wrong the first try. Very, very, very highly respected member of the or originator of the Ghost Research Society. It's his idea that maybe for whatever reason, these two different entities are appearing kind of together, almost like melted together. And it was very interesting when I was first doing the documentary. I talked to a person that said, "Well, I saw a form down by the pond that seemed to be a man with a hunchback." Now, he didn't identify it the same way. He didn't say that it was a two-headed person, but he saw something, a human form, but seems like they had a big lump kind of protruding from their shoulder. So it was interesting that I think this person saw that. He had never heard this story about a two-headed entity, but he definitely saw what everybody else is seeing down there. Um, we also bumped into, on our first visit down to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, a girl named Crystal Warren and her friend Holly Smith. They regulars that would like to come down there and tell ghost stories, scare themselves, see if they could see anything. This is, again, back in the day, in the late 90s. It was before Ghost Hunters, before Ghost Adventures, all these types of shows. So this is, people actually went out and did stuff as opposed to just watching TV. And they said that they uh, encountered two men in suits there, and they just got a really spooky vibe, an uncomfortable vibe that they felt like they were intruding. So they actually ran. They had headed for the hills. They went over across the Midlothian Turnpike, and once they got over to the Rubio Woods Forest Reserve, they looked back and they said that the two men, they could now see with some space and catch their breath and look back at them and see they had like pinstriped suits from the 1920s. And they were actually still waving towards them. So they seemed to be consciously aware. It wasn't like a residual haunting, that there's maybe an actual, a conscious spirit there at Bachelor's Grove. And thank you guys for viewing. I think I have chat turned off. I apologize. I didn't mean to do that. That was the default, stupidly. But I will fix that in the future. If you can chat, please do. And of course, I just broke everything. I have no idea how to get back to my screen now. But I will. Who knows? I'm assuming and hoping this is still going well, even though I can't see my screen anymore. How will I end this? Who knows? But moving forward to, man, I am so just going down a bad rabbit hole if I don't see my screen at all anymore. Oh, YouTube. The most famous entity observed at Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is nicknamed the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove. She is a woman in white, kind of a glowing entity, even not even a scary one for once. So at this very iconic location, this very dark iconic location, not a scary entity. But she's just seen frequently on the nights of full moons, as the story goes. And amazingly, she's even been photographed one time. It says I'm live and I'm watching the beginning of me now. How do I go back? So again, back to the Ghost Research Society, Dale Kaczmarek's organization. One of the members, oh boy, I can't remember her name offhand, but I've actually had the fortunate opportunity to be able to see the actual negative that was taken, I think in the late, oh gosh, maybe it was the mid 80s. I'm not exactly even sure how long ago this was, but it's an older one. She took a panoramic still photo with infrared film of the entire lay of the land of Bachelor's Grove, which, again, this is a place that at this moment in time probably houses about 100 burials. However, there's maybe 200 gravestones remaining because everything else has been desecrated, has been stolen, thrown into the pond, perhaps. But otherwise, just completely, it's lost. Sadly, very sadly. It's going great. I see a comment come up. Thank you, Wendy, for watching and commenting. And I got back to my screen. Wow, that was a it was driving with a blindfold on for a while there. But this incredible photo, and it's very easy. You could, if you guys are interested, you could Google Bachelor's Grove ghost photo. There's this photo of a woman again, this huge image. It's a panoramic, but they noticed when they zoomed in that they saw clear as day a woman sitting on one of the gravestones. And she seems like she's physically, actually, without question, she's there. But she was not there at the time the photo was taken. You can see the sun hitting her face. I can't remember whether or not she casts a shadow. She seems very present. She doesn't seem like she's translucent at all. It's really remarkable. Maybe one of the more famous ghost photos that I've ever seen, for sure. Let's see, thinking on and on and on. Uh, I believe that, again, there's so many legends of the darkness of Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, and one of the really unique stories. So many of it comes out of urban legend because it is such a legendary place. Is the talk of a vanishing house? Uh, People apparently driving along the Midlothian Turnpike, and again, in present day, they would see, looking in towards the cemetery, they would see a Victorian era house, porch, with a wraparound porch with a porch swing on it. Apparently, it just looks like there's a house there. And it's sometimes surprising to some people to find out later that no, that's a phantom house. There was never a house there, especially one that looked like this. There are some foundations behind that still exist there to this day, but nothing like what people are seeing. We don't know why people are seeing this. And apparently, if you are walking through the woods and you see this house, you'll see a warm light emanating from the windows of the house. You will approach it. As you approach it, the house seems to shrink smaller and smaller and smaller until it's poof, gone. As one of the urban legends goes, if you actually were able to reach the house and enter the house, you would also poof, be gone forever, which is, of course, just a fun story. But stories of inanimate objects coming out and people being able to see that, it's always a fascinating idea to me that it's maybe looking backwards into time. Who knows why we're able to do it, especially for this exact scenario. But according to, I don't know, eyewitness accounts, people have even seen black sedans on the Midlothian Turnpike, going back to the 1940s, perhaps associating with the mafia history of the past. There are stories as well about people even getting into fender benders with these vehicles, but vanishing upon impact. So that is, I think that's it for. One of the other things. This was a lesson learned as well. Uh, when we were there the second time out, and we had a big group of people talking to some locals that would go there, and they'd had their own experiences. One thing that they said was on one night. So there's, as we saw, there's chain link fences, barbed wire on the fence, but it's all kind of falling apart and being torn down by vandals. Uh, One of the people said that when they eventually said that, well, it's time to go home. Let's get out of here. One of the long strands of barbed wire shot up into the air like a whip, and that spooked them enough. Like they really did get out at that point. Now, when we were there, we had a little bit of activity, as we talked about, seeing the glowing eyes coming, looking, watching us from the woods. We had odd fog that started to form at one point, but it seemed to really calm down. And I thought, well, oh gosh, we've been out here and there was some activity, and now it's really quiet. Well, let's just take one more walk around before we go. So we were announcing out loud our plans to leave, and the moment that happened, that same piece of barbed wire moved on its own. Now it didn't shoot up in the sky like would have been amazing to experience, but what we all did hear, that wow, that barbed wire just moved on its own. And that was one of the lesson that I took from that, is when you're doing a paranormal investigation, it's always good to announce that it's time to go. Um, my theory, the reason I do it, is that what if perhaps there's something there that wants to reach out, but it's hard to, or it was waiting for the right opportunity. Who knows? Maybe someone was bashful, and now they know it's now or never. And now is the time to jump out and make contact. And so ever since that moment, I always make it common practice to announce that we're leaving. But on that final little walk around the cemetery, my mom, who again was the one that experienced the cold spot, and we got that really unique photo that was seen in the other video before the internet went down. She was actually pinched on the hand during that final walk around the building, a walk around the cemetery. I do urge people, check this place out. It's very unique. Go during daylight hours. Don't go at all in October. That place is on lockdown, understandably, because so much negativity has happened there. There's been so much grave desecration. And I will leave with one of the creepiest stories, which is not my own. It's from Ursula Bielski. She was there after dark one night with a friend, and this was I can't remember the name of the show, but it was actually depicted in one of those My Ghost Story style TV shows where they do a reenactment. And this is a place she's been many, many times, and she was with somebody else that was really into restoring the cemetery. So this other person had been there hundreds of times. And so where they parked was on kind of the other side, away from Rubio Woods, which that is a forest preserve. So if you try to go there after dark, you can't park there anyway. So they were trying to march through the woods to get to the cemetery. And that's exactly what they were doing. They were on their way. It's a place that they've been to so many times. And eventually got really quiet. It got darker than dark. And they realized they have no idea where they are. And they were just kind of oddly lost in this place that they knew very well. And eventually they saw headlights. They saw cars. Like, oh, okay. Well, if the road is over there, then the cemetery is over there. Now we have our bearings again. Now we know what heading to be on, and we'll be fine. And as they walked, it again got completely dark, completely quiet, and they were no longer confident about where they were. And suddenly they saw headlights again, but it's not in the right place. The headlights were somewhere else now. Like, wait a minute. Okay, now if the road's over there, then the cemetery is over here. Okay, let's go on this heading. And this happened over and over and over again for, I don't know, what was it, 5, 6 hours? It was all night long. And eventually they realized that whatever is going on here, whatever energy, whatever entity is in this space, it does not want us to be here. So let's forget the idea that we're going to go to the cemetery, and let's just go back to our car. And they were able to do that. And it's a great reminder that whatever's out there, the stuff that we are interested in learning about it, interested in trying to see for ourselves, that it knows more than we do. Clearly, I mean, that's why we're going out there. Is we're trying to have an experience. We're trying to learn a little bit. But at the end of the day, we are at the whim of whatever else is out there, and it's a humbling lesson to learn that there might be something that's way more powerful than we are out there. So always be careful. There are, of course, the real life perils of being in a place after dark, of being around who knows what else is out there, whether it's cultists, so on and so forth. I'm just looking over to remember that tomorrow morning I will be doing the letter C. And right now it's between cemeteries. We will talk about things other than Resurrection Cemetery or Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. It's either that or the Cecil Hotel, a very haunted place in downtown Los Angeles. Head on over to facebook.com/what's your ghost story to place your vote for what I'll be talking about tomorrow. In addition to that, I'm going to cover the letter D tomorrow night. So C tomorrow morning around during the 10 o'clock to 10 a.m. hour Central Time, and place your vote. But also give me suggestions for letter D. And tomorrow morning, I'll announce what the finalists are. I got a really great suggestion this afternoon, but still want to keep it open. If you guys have any ideas of what I should talk about for the letter D, follow. If you're having fun watching this, I'd love to hear from you. Leave comments, reach out, but subscribe and hit that bell button, because we will be coming back just about every single day this month, telling ghost stories about unique places, unique theories all over the world that I've had the absolute extreme privilege to be able to witness, to be able to investigate, to be able to visit. Thanks for watching, and Sláinte.